Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about my October TBR, my to be read pile. Now I know I haven't really been posting a lot of videos in September. I took a little break to figure some stuff out and now I'm back. I was reading during that time, but not as much as I was over the summer. And so now I've kind of chosen a TBR that I think is going to go really well with October, with a slight spooky theme, but still in the realm of fantasy. I put in a couple books that I've been wanting to read for a while and that I think will be quick reads, and I just kind of want to see if I'm gonna like them or if they're gonna fall flat. So let's get into it. So the first book that I want to pick up is called Havenfall by Sarah Rowland. It's a pretty small book. I think it's only about 300 pages, but it's actually like a pretty small size, smaller than a lot of the other books that I have on my list. This one is a fantasy murder mystery. This girl who lives at an inn, it's her family legacy, and this inn protects 3 gateways to 3 different worlds, and her family's legacy is to protect these worlds and protect these gateways, but there's a mysterious murder that happens and she has to step in and protect everyone. The character's name is Maddie, if I didn't mention that already. And this seems pretty intriguing. I'm hoping that it's murder mystery, but also a little bit about the worlds and the gates, because I love exploring books that have different portals to different worlds, especially after reading the Throne of Glass series. So we'll see about this one. I'm a little bit on the fence, but I'm looking forward to seeing what it's about. If any of you guys have read it, let me know. I haven't actually heard of a lot of people that have read this book, so I'm intrigued to see what it's about. So the next book is based on one of my favorite characters, and that is Loki by Mackenzie Lee. It's called Loki Where Mischief Lies, and it's basically Loki's backstory, or at least one of his backstories. It is based on Loki's friendship with Amora, this resident sorceress at Asgard, and after something happens in Asgard, Amora gets blamed and punished for it because her and Loki destroyed it, and so basically she gets banished to Earth, where her power will slowly wither and die. But I guess the people of Asgard end up discovering that there is this Asgardian magic on Earth that is developing, and Odin, Loki's father, ends up sending him there to figure it out, and I guess he kind of discovers who he is or who he's meant to be, since he's basically been pretty ashamed of his power and living in the shadow of Thor. So I think I'm really excited for this one. It's gonna be an easy read. The letters are really big. This is definitely more on the younger side of young adult, and so I'm pretty excited to see how this is going to fly. I love Loki's character in the comics and the books and the movies. Everything that I've seen in terms of Asgard I've always loved. I've loved Loki much more. He's way more clever and really a lot more interesting. So I'm hoping that this gives me a good enough idea of what caused him to become that way, more than what's in the comics or what's in the movies already. So let's see how this one goes. If any of you guys are fans of Loki, let me know. I have met a few people that are. People don't necessarily love to admit that, but I think he's pretty great. The next book is one that I've had on my list for October for a super long time. That came out last year in the fall, but I've been saving it for the Halloween time, and that is The Bone Houses by Emily Lloyd Johnson. This is kind of what I would consider a grave diggers type of story, and risen or re-risen bones and corpses again, and it kind of goes into that kind of spooky type of fantasy story, but it's supposed to be really good. I've heard pretty decent things about it. Nothing that would be too much of a rave, but also nothing really horrible. So I think I have pretty high expectations. So I have pretty decent expectations, nothing super high, but nothing super bad either. I think it'll just be a fun read for the month of Halloween. So the next book, the 4th book on my TBR for October, also has a bit of a spookier feel. It's one that I was going to read in August, but I didn't get around to, and so I'm going to read it in October since I think it's the perfect month for something like this. It is set in New Orleans, and it is called The Beautiful by Renee Audier. Now, I've heard some hit and miss things about Renee Audier's previous writing and other books. so I'm a little hesitant about this one, but I think it'll give me a good taste of what she's like as an author. I also love New Orleans, so anything set in New Orleans is going to probably be fantastic for me personally. I think when it first came out it was touted as a vampire-like story, but I've heard a lot of reviews that say that there's not a lot of vampire type stuff in here for them. So basically we have this girl that flees Paris and goes to New Orleans and ends up being part of this underground group, and there happen to be murders and a dead body that ends up being found in their lair. As she gets caught up in this group, there is a murder where the dead body is found at their headquarters, and there are more and more murders popping up, and she finds herself in the middle of a feud between them and other dark creatures of the night. So I think it'll be pretty interesting. The cover I think is beautiful. It's got sprayed edges. I'm loving the way that this book looks. So I'm hoping that it's equally as creepy with like this dark glamour about it and that New Orleans spook that I absolutely love in the book itself. I've heard that Renee Audier's writing is really prose-like and very lyrical, so I don't know if that's going to take away from the pace of the story or my interest in the story, because I do love a good plot as well as some good character development, but we'll see how this one ends up. I have definitely heard a lot of other booktubers talk about it, so I'm intrigued to see how I'm gonna feel about it so far. If you guys have read this book or read anything else by Renee Audier, let me know in the comments down below. I'm really interested to see what other people besides just the famous booktubers have to say about this book, since this is my first foray into her writing. Alright, the last book on my TBR for this month is part of a famous series, fantasy series, and especially even here on BookTube. I believe this is more of an adult series from what I understand, but it could just be like a more adult version of young adult, and that is Nevernight by Jay Kristoff. Now I know he's been in some controversial Twitter news lately and all this, but I've just heard really good things about this series and I've always wanted to read it. I have all 3 books and I've heard really good things from some of my favorite booktubers here. So this is basically the first in the series, and it follows Mia Corvair from assassin school and into I think the rest of her life as an assassin in this world. So it's definitely kind of a darker fantasy, and it's definitely very strong female centric from what I understand. So I think this is going to be one of those dark heroine type of novels where we have this really strong dark female character with this dark and traumatic past, which is awesome. As always, the best kind of read for me, and that's something that I'm really into. So I'm hoping this is really good. I love assassin stories. I love strong female leads, especially darker female leads. So I think this one will be really interesting. I think most people have read this by now. I'm probably just really lagging behind on the popular BookTube books, but I am excited. This is the UK version with the black sprayed edges, and I just love it. So I'm just hoping that it's as beautiful of a story that it is with the cover and the sprayed edges. So those are the books that I'm planning on reading for October mainly. I always have a few other books that I am thinking of reading and that I'd like to read. I think right now I'm finishing up The Red Queen from that series. I don't know if I'm going to love it and continue on with that series. That could be something that I also inject into my October TBR, but so far these are the 5 books that I've chosen, and I've specifically chosen them for like a fall time Halloween theme, so I'm pretty excited for that. If you have any recommendations, or if you're reading any of these books or have read any of these books, please let me know in the comments down below. I'm always super excited to hear what you guys have read and what you guys like, and I'm hoping that you guys are reading some good books for October as well. If you like this video, please click the like button down below and please subscribe to my channel. That really helps support me and this channel. Thank you!